Right. So the new prediction for the second and third fire signs of 1 Kings 18, which are a terrorist attack producing a mushroom cloud, which isn't nuclear but high explosive, above the Thames around about Dartford, and another one producing a mushroom cloud above the Hudson in Manhattan. These two attacks we predict for Tishri 4 to 6, which is September 13 to 16 for the first one of the two, and then Tishri 20 to 22, which is September 29 to October 2 for the second one of the two. Not quite sure which way around they are. Presumably the American one is the later one, between September 29 and October 2, because we have the Third World War beginning and running for 7 times of the fiery furnace of Daniel 3. On Tishri 22, which is the last possible day for that attack, which is the Super Pentecost of the 12th 2NC Pentecost. So the third fire sign, which is the second of these two attacks, will precipitate the next day, or that day, World War III. And that's more likely to be America doing that than us, I would imagine, just thinking politically. But I haven't managed to work out from the scriptures convincingly which way round these two attacks fall. So the first attack is at the third Zoa Pentecost, or the seventh Sabbath thereof, or the Super Pentecost thereafter. And the second attack in America, we think, is the 12th 2NC Pentecost, which is the last 2NC Pentecost, Tishri 21, before the first 2NC Pentecost on Heshvan 21. And the nice thing about that is that the first Pentecost in the first Christian church was 33 Sivan 5, when the gifts of the Spirit were poured out onto the first New Covenant saints by the Holy Spirit, which was made up of it's actually the second Holy Spirit. And the first will be last and last will be first. And the last Pentecost of this church, run by FDS 4 before it's taken over by Jesus, is Tishri 21. And that's the 12th 2NC Pentecost, which is the last Pentecost of the year. The year from Pentecost to Pentecost anyway. So what happened at the first 1NC Pentecost is gifts of the Spirit poured out, and at the last 2NC Pentecost, gifts of the Spirit poured out. And the gifts of the Spirit poured out for 7 times, which is more or less coincident with World War III, because it goes from Tishri 21 to ER 21 instead of Tishri 22 to ER 22, so it runs 1 day before World War III. And you need the gifts to protect people from the atrocities of World War III, because God has promised in Genesis 15 to be a shield to Abraham, and the time he needs that shielding will be World War III. And also he promises in Psalm 91, it's important to understand this, we didn't understand this before, Psalm 91 applies to people who are dwelling in the secret place of the Most High, which is the Ark. So once you get into the Ark, and you're dwelling in that but still interacting with the earth for 50 days, which the saints do, during that time you get the full protection of Psalm 91, which is the plague can't come near your tent, and the angels will guard your steps so you don't strike your foot against a stone, and the plagues, you get no plague, you see 10,000 people dying to your right and 1,000 to your left, and you don't have a problem. Once you're in the Ark, you're fully protected. But even when you're not in the Ark, you still get the shield of Abraham. And also you have the gifts of the Spirit, which, well, remains to be seen how amazing they are, but they've got to be pretty good because mankind has a lot of catching up to do. So these are the two Pentecosts we're going for, Tishri 5 and Tishri 21. Now there's a wonderful understanding I had recently, which is that Elijah tells his attendant, which in Hebrew is his boy, to go and look for these things. And the age of the Lord's Witness congregation starts with the baptism of Dave in 2022 Nisan 14. He's the oldest Lord's Witness by baptism, and he became one in 2002. He was baptized 2002 Nisan 14. He became 1 2002 Tishri 1, so he became 20 today, which is 2021 Tishri 1. So I had to have told him to go and look for this thing prior to today, and we worked out the correct date to look. We worked out the correct prediction date, which is a date when he goes to look for the clouds, we worked out the latest predictions on LL25, 6 days before Tishri 1. So we just managed to squeeze that in. And what that means is, if that's a correct interpretation, which I think it must be, because it's based on physical event that occurred, and although I dare say you could maybe reinterpret it, but it seems good to me. 20 years you're no longer a boy. So Dave is now a man, but he was a boy when we did this prediction, and now that he's a man it's too late to make a prediction, so it must be the correct prediction, otherwise you can't fulfill 1 Kings 18. Likewise, because we can't do any more predictions if that 1 Kings 18 interpretation is correct, that means that we finish going around Jericho, because going around Jericho is making more and more predictions, changing our predictions, just going around in chronological circles. We've been doing that for years. And so the final month of that is the 7th month of the 7th year, which is going around 7 times in the 7th campaign day in the literal account. So Elul was the 7th month of the 7th year of the campaign, so the campaign must have begun Adar 1, 2014. So that is the latest prediction for World War III and the fire signs, and the whole purpose of this is the mark of the beast and the test on mankind, the sheep and the goat test. Are you going to love people who don't take the mark, or are you going to condemn them? The test on mankind is this: if you lived in Nazi Germany, would you have helped the Jews, or would you have turned a blind eye to their extermination? And if you lived in America in the time of segregation, would you have participated and collaborated with that segregation, or would you have fought against it for the rights of the blacks? And you're going to be able to answer that question, because you will get the same opportunity with all those who don't take the mark of the beast. They will be excluded, they will be segregated, and according to Revelation 13 they will be imprisoned, probably in camps. And are you going to turn a blind eye to this just so long as you can carry on with your life? If you do that, you fail the sheep and the goats test, because you don't help Jesus' brothers, and Jesus' brothers are not allowed to take the mark. But if you do help them, you will save your soul. Thank you.